All right. The next application layer protocol that we'll talk about is DNS. DNS stands for Domain Name Service, and we will talk about hierarchy, how it works, what are the different records, what are the messages, how do you register, and what are the attacks. So DNS stands for Domain Name Service. Now this is really not an application that you ever touch, but you touch it every single time when you do any other application, because in most applications you supply the name and it has to be translated to the address, and this is done by DNS server. So a DNS server has a record of every single host in the universe, not the world, universe. All right. If there is a name, there is an IP address, your DNS server should know it. Yeah.
So they literally keep a table that just.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're literally a big database. However, this is a distributed database. So if everybody had to keep, the whole universe's database, that will be too big. So I will show you how it is distributed. So it is distributed database of all hosts in the universe. And then it also provides name to address, but also provides other services. For example, you could say, what is the alternative name for www.rajjain.com? So this is a valid URL. However, it translates to this URL. Right? So all of you, for example, have a website in Washu. You could get a domain name like this yourself, and people could open the web page by writing the domain name, and they would not know that it is going to Washu. All right? You could have an email address which is your own domain name. So a lot of people, when you go to IETF, and everybody is a networking guru there, they all have their own domain names, and they all have their own email addresses which are very simple, bob@roman.com, whatever their name is. Yeah. That is valid. What name record?
CNAME?
E-name?
CNAME is like when you have one domain for another domain?
So this is basically host aliasing. What else is called? Domain aliasing. That's the only name I know. Now I don't know about e-name, so could be. Anyway, MX record is for mail server. So you could, for example, go to DNS server and say, where is the mail for. Actually, all it is, I think, doing is probably not looking at the whole thing. Where is the email server for Wustel.edu? So if you go to DNS and DNS says, well, mail for Wustel.edu is received at mail.wustel.edu, and then it finds the address and then gives it to you. So the servers can then basically send the mail there. And load distribution, multiple addresses. So some sites have so much load that they cannot have one address. For example, Google.com. Google.com gets so much load that if they just send everything to one computer, that computer will be overloaded, right? I mean, obviously, so not only if you do it in different cities, the Google address is different, but if you do different times, even right here, right on your computer, just do ping google.com, and then a few minutes later do ping google.com. Actually, you don't do ping, you say NS lookup, name server lookup. Here it is, name server lookup. If you do name server lookup, Wustel.edu, you get the address. All right, you do google.com, you get a bunch of addresses. All right, so our DNS server knows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Google addresses, and when you ask for it, it will give you this list, but the list is rotated every time. So you ask it second time, it will give you this as the first address. Third time you ask, it will give you the same addresses, but this will be the first address, because most people just take the first address and use it. So by rotating, they want to make sure that the load is balanced. Yeah.
Is there any sort of protocol in charge of registering or tying a domain name to the server?
Oh yeah. Basically, when you get the domain name, your domain name registrar, and it might be a good idea for you to get a domain name because you never know when you will need it. So I have gotten it from my son and my wife and my kids and everybody else, and so if they need it, they have it. It costs them money. It costs $10 a year, but basically, so the idea is when you get then they provide all this. They provide the MX server, they provide the name server, the name to address translation, everything else is done by them as a service. All right. So how is this database distributed? Well, database is distributed by the names that you already know. So the root database is called DOT, and DOT has several children: .com, .org, .edu, .us, and all that. So hundreds of what we call subdomains. Then .com has many of them. So yahoo.com, amazon.com, and so on and so forth. Edu has umass.edu, boostal.edu, poly.edu, and so on and so forth, and org, and so on and so forth. And then WashU has many children, so it will be cs.boostal.edu, and so on and so forth, law.boostal.edu. So, and then law has many children, and so this is the whole thing is a tree. And the tree can grow independently of the other parts of the tree. So for example, Boostal doesn't have to go and ask UMass, can I have a child named Law? You can have whatever name you want for your child. Alright? And so this tree, everybody is responsible for their part of the tree. So .com server is responsible for all the children. If Amazon.com changes name, changes ownership, changes something, then .com server has to know, right? So that it can correctly send the queries. And so this is called the root, is the top level, and these are the top level domains. And this list has been growing like anything. So every country has a 2-letter code. We have US, which we never use, but there are countries like TV and some other countries which are very much in demand, and CA is for Canada and UK and so on and so forth, right? So that is top level domains. And then when you want to get to any server, you can get to the authoritative DNS server. So if you want to know about any names in boostal.edu, you have to go to boostal.edu. So if you are here somewhere working for Amazon and you want to know what is the address for mail.cs.boostal.edu, Amazon would cache some of these answers if it needs it, right? But if just nobody needs it, then it will go to the root, come down to the boostal.edu and say, please tell me what is the address for mail.cs.boostal.edu, and then get it back to you. So that is called authoritative. Every organization is responsible for its own addresses to tell to the world. Okay? Non-authoritative. Non-authoritative is if I just have a previous answer. So suppose you asked me what is mail.cs.boostal.edu, and so I told you, but I also kept it in my cache. And then you asked me, somebody else asked me, so I can say, well, I think this is the answer. It's a guess, because it could have changed in the last few minutes, right? So non-authoritative means, it's a best guess. And what will happen, actually this is all coming up in the next slide. The best guess is good enough because it saves you time, you got the answer right away. But you send a message there and it comes back, says not deliverable, then you will say to the server, look, I want an authoritative answer. Alright? Then the server will make sure that it goes. It's like proxy server. Remember proxy servers? You can say reload the page, means I really want the origin server, you to go to origin server. Same way here, DNS. Now how does the DNS works? Okay, so first of all, every host has a host file. right? So your computer has a list of names and addresses in that file. If that name is there in that list, it doesn't go anywhere. So if it doesn't find in that host file, then it goes to the DNS server, which you have programmed in your computer. Remember, when you set up TCP/IP, it says DNS server obtain automatically, or put the name, put the number. So it goes to the DNS server and says, please give me the answer. Now it may have its own cache, and it give you the answer. If it not, then it goes to some other people. And when it gets the answer, it sends it back to you. Yeah.
So I heard that they're expanding TLDs for internet. So would that mean you need a lot more DNS servers then?
No, actually, so each TLD does not have to be a separate DNS server. Sorry, let me go back to the previous slide. This one. So for example, there is no need that yahoo.com and amazon.com be two DNS servers. There could be one DNS server. All right. So for example, com and arg, they don't have to be different. So by expanding this doesn't mean that you need DNS server, but obviously the number of names is increasing, and you need bigger and bigger DNS servers. All right. And and it actually is a good business for these people who are in this business, because they can sell a lot more names. All right, so there are two kinds of queries. One is called recursive query, give me an answer. Or iterative queries, give me an answer or a hint. Give me an answer or a hint. So in this case, what this means is that if you don't know the answer, please tell me where should I go. So this is the question, like, I want to go to Kansas City, and somebody says, I go to somebody and say, well, can you tell me direction to Kansas City? And they say, well, I really don't know, but can you give me a hint? They'll say, maybe you should take 170 from here. That's good enough. And so that's the kind of answer you can get, is that you could go to the DNS server, and actually more likely your DNS server will go to some other server and say, where should I go? And they will say, well, go to this top level domain server, and they might say, well, go to the UMass server, and then from UMass server you will get the answer. So that is an iterative query. Recursive query is give me an answer. What that means is that if you don't know, then please go and find out and then come back to me and tell me. So this query, for example, is a recursive query here. From the user, this is a recursive query because I don't want to go to top level domain, I don't want to go to UMass and all that. Please go and tell me, find out. So this one will do a iterative query from here, but the computer is going to do a recursive query. Yeah, go ahead, question.
So from here it looks like everyone needs to install their own DNS server.
Everyone?
Yeah, for the authoritative answer.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, authoritative answer, for example, this doesn't have to be, for example, UMass.edu server could have all UMass names, including DNS.cs. everything else. So this is one server which is authoritative for whole UMass. Okay? It might have many, many domains there, subdomains and subdomains and subdomains, but each of them don't have to have their own server. For example, in our whole department, I think there's just one server. CES has one server, even though there is CSE and and CSE can have its own names, and so there is no separate server for those names, and there is no separate server for CSE. So the DNS records have very simple database. Basically, they have a name, value, type, and time to live, TTL. Type could be A, means address, NS means name server for the domain name, C name is the canonical name. Somebody said E name, you were using the word E name, but it is C name is the canonical name for the host name, this is alternative name, MX is the mail server. So the type indicates what kind of record this is. And there is A record, MS record, CNAME record, MX record. A record is simple IP to address translation. MX record contains the mail server addresses for that name. CNAME contains the alternative name for that name. NS is the name server for that name. So there are many records, and each of them have a TTL. TTL is time to live. So if you go to UMass, or if you go to, let's say, Facebook, well, not really Facebook. Well, so whatever you go to, and then you get the answer, that answer is good only for so many seconds, or so many minutes, or so many hours, or so many days. Things which change fast. So for example, if you have a smartphone, IP address would be changing very fast in the day, right? So that answer that will come back from AT&T or Verizon would have very small TTL. Whereas if you go to Bushtel, unless you're connected with wireless, it might give you a long TTL. It will say this address and this is good for 24 hours. Right? So depending upon the mobility, the address changes and the TTL changes. Okay? Alright, so we have name, value, type. So we talk about type and name and value. Basically, name is the ASCII character string and value is the binary string. Messages are basically like this. You have identification field, some flags, then how many questions you are asking, how many answers are there, how many authoritative answers and additional answers. So these things, and then you have questions, all the answers, all the authorities, and then additional information. So what is a question? Question could be simply that here is the name and I want the MX record, the name and the type. Answer could be name, type, value and TTL. So the answer should be there. Authority is the server that gave the answer. And additional information is, if it is you ask a question and then we give you more information, for example, you just ask for the canonical name, then we might give you IP address as well along with the name. But the canonical name is just the alternative name. Alright. Now how do you get a registration? So there are many registrars. There is a big competition among the registrars. So you can go to any of these registrars and say, I want this name. They will say this name is available or not. Once it is available, you just pay them $10 and the name is yours for 1 year. So there is ICANN, Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, that ICANN basically accredits registrars, so it has to be accredited by them. And then there is a company called Internic. Internic is the central thing. So all these registrars register with Internic. So you buy the name from GoDaddy.com. GoDaddy.com goes to Internic.com, Internic.net, and registers there. Once it is registered with Internic.net, then everybody knows that. Registrars provide authoritative name servers, A and MS records for the domain. So when you go to the registrar and pay $10, for that they will provide the name service for you. So if somebody goes and says, what is the address for rajjain.com, my registrar will provide that. That is the official authenticated answer. So if Vashu, for example, goes and says, okay, what is rajjain.com's address, it will go to my registrar. They have a name server that has the official answer. Yeah.
What if you just go to the name and you don't have a website?
Yeah, so the thing is, the minute you buy the name, you have the address specified. Actually, here thing though, I mean, like basically, few things here. If you bought the name and you don't have the website, then their record will probably be blank or 0 or whatever it is, right? But you have the option of providing some other website to be used. And so, for example, I put my Vashu website, and so they put that address, Vashu address, in that record. But they also sell you them. Here is the thing though, I mean, they will sell you any service you want. They will sell you a single page, free page, or for $1 or $5 or $3, some deal. You put a page which says, this is your page, under construction. Yeah.
So you're paying them to have run a server to keep all your web pages and for
For everything they charge you money. So they can provide you email, they can provide you name service, they can provide you web service, they can provide you FTP service, and for everything there is a charge. Right? So I use the minimum. I'm just telling you my own experience. I use the minimum. That means I just pay them for the registration, which is $10 a year, and everything else I do at Vashu. Right? Vashu does the email, Vashu does the web page, and everything else. All right. So it might be a good idea for you to get your own name, because once you become a networking expert by taking 473, you can go to somebody and say, look, I'm a networking expert. My email is whatever your name is, and say, well, my email is bob at myname.com. Impressive, right? And then you can explain all about DNS and MX and everything else that you know. All right. Attacks. So DNS is also a source of attack. So first of all, if nothing else, people have tried this and they have succeeded in attacking the dot server, the top level server. So at one time, few years ago, some people attacked the dot server so that nobody could get any name resolved. There was so much traffic that you could not get the name resolved. That means you could not go anywhere. All right, now that has been solved by having 12 dot servers. Right? So there is not single dot server but n dot servers. So that is resolved. But then you can also do cache poisoning. You could install a server that gives all the wrong answers. So it says, well, I know that rajjain.com is this, and here is the address. YouTube.com exists in Pakistan, and that happened. Okay? All the traffic went to Pakistan. All right, and it didn't get anywhere. All the YouTube traffic went to Pakistan. Right, so you can do that. Right, so now that has been resolved in the sense that now the servers don't talk to each other and just take your answer. They have to authenticate that you are really the server that you're saying your server. So there is a password and authentication and certificates, all those things. But initially there was no such thing. Okay? All right, so that brings us to the end of DNS. And so DNS now is, what are the 5 key things? First is DNS is used to resolve names to IP addresses, but it also now started providing other services such as names to alias names, CNAMEs, mail server records, and so on and so forth. It's a worldwide or universe-wide distributed database, and therefore the servers go and ask other servers for answers when needed. And you can have either a iterative query or recursive query. Recursive query means answer only. A iterative query means basically give me a hint and then I will go and find out the answer. Then there is root servers, and there are top level domain servers and authoritative server for every name. There is authoritative server. Okay.